Hey y'all, I'm Olivia Murray.
I'm Emma Stewart.
And I'm Doja Dansby.
And today we will be discussing the potential ideas of beautifying Ariccia.
For our SWOT analysis, starting off with our strengths, we feel like accessibility of resources as well as the creativity in the community is one of the two big ones, as well as the layout of the city and the amazing view. And then also the history with the palace in itself. It's also very inexpensive and the fundraising is attainable. And then the honesty of the community, we feel like the community will tell us how they really feel, and we trust that they'll give us their true opinions of it. Then opportunities, we feel like mixing pot of different cultures is one of the big ones, as well as the influx of younger generations coming in since it is inexpensive to live here. And then potentially desirable and the economic growth, which kind of go hand in hand with each other, as well as respect for historical significance and the beauty of it. For weaknesses, we feel like the level of need is one of the biggest, as well as availability and redundancy. And then the satisfaction and the settling of locals and trying to make sure everyone's happy with the changes that we make, because it would be kind of hard to make sure everyone is in agreement. And then threats, we feel like a big one is unwanted change in like older generations not wanting or everything saying the exact same, as well as the lack of interest in people just not really caring, and disagreements, people going back and forth between what should change, what should not change, and then competition with cities outside of Ariccia, as well as lack of capacity. For our potential stakeholders, the first ones we chose is Mayor Stokoli, because he can handle the backlash from the community, and he also wants to make the best efforts for the community since it is his city. We also chose newer store owners because they are more recently added, and so they will be impacted by our decisions we make, as well as the older store owners because they've been here for a long time, and they will also be impacted by the decisions we make. We also chose the JSB directors because their name is tied into the project, so they will make sure that their ideas are reflecting themselves in good light.
So for our interviewees, the groups we are considering include the younger generations, the older generations, as well as aesthetically pleasing store owners. And we're also planning on interviewing individuals as well. So that includes Mayor Stokoli, Maurizio, and Paolo's wife. The younger citizens have a grasp on what is in, and they may be able to contribute, their own opinions on what they would like to be seen done to Ariccia. And the older citizens have been here for a while, so we will need to respect their opinions to some extent, but at the same time, we don't want their opinions to overrun our ideas. We would also like to ask how the aesthetically pleasing store owners have managed in not being an eyesore to the community, but also how they got the community to accept them. And with Mayor Stokoli, Ariccia is his city, so he might be able to help with funding as well as giving his own ideas, and maybe we would be able to incorporate them with our own ideas. Maurizio has lived in Ariccia for a long time and has done quite a bit of traveling. So he may be able to help give us, some helpful tips on what can be done in helping beautify Ariccia. And then last but not least, Paolo's wife does coffee art, meaning that not only does she have an artistic background, but she also has some artistic talent too. So she might be able to help us, with her own opinions. And she's also the wife of a store owner who doesn't have his restaurant in the city center. So she might be able to give us some help when looking at new Ariccia versus old Ariccia.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the current aesthetics we've noticed in Ariccia. Something that we really notice when we've been walking around is that it's very plain. There's a lot of tan colors, white colors. Of course, there's pops of greenery, especially in the forest and down below where the bridge is, the occasional flowers. But as you can see in the top left corner, a lot of the flowers, even in front of the palace, are white or maybe have a little bit of a pink tint to them. But there's a major lack of color all throughout the city. And in the part under the bridge that we went to with Cenzia, there is a lot of growth and it looks pretty rugged right now because the city apparently has not been taking care of it. So that's something that we feel would really contribute to the beautification. And our vision is if the city would, cut down some of the greenery, take some rakes out there, make it look a little bit better. All right, on this next slide, I'm going to talk about some of our goals and examples that we have noticed when we've been walking around to other cities. In the bottom left, that's actually from Ariccia. That is one of the arches. And we really like this arch, and we feel like it's one of the most aesthetically pleasing areas of Ariccia because as you see, there's greenery above it, and it's a really good photo spot. Excuse me, I keep saying greenery, but we're going to continue. In the top left, that was a photo in Rome. There's flowers and plants that are all outside of the stores. It's something simple and inexpensive that really amps the city up. Next to that, we have the vine. And things like this are very inexpensive as well. They add to the aesthetic of a place and building, and they're also relatively inexpensive, but it would really pop on the white color of the buildings in Ariccia. The photo in the far right corner is from Genzano, and they have the same thing going on as a city in Rome with the plants out in front of the buildings. The store owners have very cute shops, and it just looks very clean and aesthetic. In the bottom right corner, that is a photo of Fortini Lab, which has become one of our favorite places, mostly because of the aesthetic. It's really cute, and it's something that we could potentially bring into Ariccia as a place like that with the aesthetic appeal if we can just amp it up a little bit.
And last but not least, we have our projected timeline. So our first thing we would need to do is to discuss potential ideas and put together a solid but also flexible plan to introduce to our interviewees. Following that, we need to meet with and consider other potential ideas from our interviewees and then reformulate a more concrete plan and begin planning. So for example, discussing costs with the mayor, etc. We also need to create a budget plan based on the investments that are agreed to be given or collected during the interviews, purchase our supplies, and plan which areas of Ariccia will be beautified. So, getting permission from different shop owners, etc. And then last but not least, putting our plan into action and gathering public opinion. Hopefully everyone will be happy, but if not, our decor is relatively simple and easy to remove. But yes, that's all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.